Our first reader tonight is Kristin Bock. Her collection of poetry, Cloisters, won Tupelo Press's first book award and an Eric Hoffer Da Vinci Eye Award. Her second collection, Glass Bikini, is forthcoming from Tupelo Press next month in December. She's published widely in journals, including the Black Warrior Review, Columbia Crazy Horse Fence, Pleiades, Prairie Schooner, and Verse. A Massachusetts Cultural Council Fellow, she holds an MFA in poetry from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, where she teaches. She lives in Western Massachusetts with her husband, artist Jeffrey Kostecki, and together they restore liturgical art, which is an amazing, interesting fact about you. So Kristin, the floor is all yours. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Thanks so much for inviting me. I am so excited to be here and to be reading with MJ and Michael. I can't wait to hear you too. So yeah, I won't waste too much time. I'm delighted to kick off this awesome event. And I'm going to read straight through from my forthcoming book that you mentioned, Glass Bikini, and it's due out next month. Anyway, there's a box of books waiting at home. I don't have them yet, so I haven't seen it, so I'm reading from the manuscript. So here goes. I'm going to start with the first poem called Snuff Poem. I have a monster. It has a hole in its belly. You can see straight through to the other side. Sometimes I reach into the cage and put my hand through the hole. The monster doubles over and cries for a time. I let it out, ride it around like a donkey. I tie feathers to its neck and bid it sing like a waterfall. I point, I laugh, I eat a rabbit on the floor. The monster's eyes are dark and bottomless, like stars turned inside out. I hood it, I leash it, I broomstick it. No matter what I try, each night, thousands of soldiers collect at the hole and stare out at me. They all have the same face. They pour from the monster's belly, tumble over each other like mice from a silo. I press my palm to the hole, but they shoulder through. By daybreak, the army holds me at gunpoint. And this next poem is called On the Day of Your Wedding. And it is the title poem of the manuscript, the book to be. On the day of your wedding, I'm beating a dead monkey on the cathedral stairs. I'm wearing my hat with the horns, a gown of red arrows that point straight down. On the day of your wedding, I'm riding a carousel horse in a glass bikini, cut from the radioactive plains of the forbidden zone. Covered in katydids, licking oblivion from a dinner plate with my gold leaf tongue, sitting and speaking of love as if it could save us. Here is my full set of wax teeth. Here is your dress like a bandage. Here, my monkey paws. This next poem is called The Island of Zerrissenheit. And Zerrissenheit, if you don't know that word, it's a German word that means literally torn apart by sorrow. The island pulls at you every moment without rest. You'll be rent into pieces, torn apart by sorrow. The only creatures that escape are birds. They say even mermaids go mad, biting the bottoms of boats in the bay. In early morning, you can see them dragging themselves to shore. Mermaids with mouths bloody, full of splinters. Mermaids blinded by their own blue hands. I came to this island after the death of a friend. Actually, she did not die. She's still alive, but I am dead to her. The island told me this is a special kind of sorrow, a sorrow with a light inside that never goes out, an inverse lighthouse at the bottom of the sea. They say your hands fall off first, most likely at the shore where it's windiest. No, those are not starfish scattered on the sand. They are hands curling in on themselves, making little nests on the beach. Sometimes they scuttle away to cut off other hands. The abandoned always retreat or lash out, but never make it free. The island has 3 rules. Never try to warm the freshly dead. Never dismember a mermaid by moonlight. Never ever fall in love with a bird. I've come to know the difference between sadness and grief. Sadness is the knell of a bell on a buoy at night, riding the swells. Grief is a boat exactly the size and shape of the sea. I see you approaching the island, friend, but can no longer wave you in. Thanks, guys. This one's called Gaslighter. A friend makes me a beautiful handbag in all my favorite colors, rusty orange and chocolate polka dots embroidered with golden thread. When I stroll through town, I get a lot of compliments and feel very special. The next day, even though I didn't put anything in the bag, it starts to get heavy. When I bring it back to my friend's house, she turns it upside down and outpours a pyramid of brilliant jewels I have stolen. They're blindingly beautiful. I'm surprised because I don't remember stealing the jewels, but I'm so grateful for the beautiful bag I give them to her. After a time, the bag becomes heavy again. When my friend empties it, out falls more jewels and a severed hand. I realize it's my hand and start to scream. There, she says, you still got your other hand. Here, let me paint your fingernails a beautiful Arctic blue. She holds my hand in hers with such tenderness, I start to cry. Of course, you're right, thank you, I say, and I leave with my beautiful bag in my one beautiful hand. Year after year, I empty the bag of body parts on her couch until one day it's too heavy to lift. I drag it down the street by my teeth. I am hobbled and ugly, I say to my friend. No, she says, you are like a rare bird who flies without wings, who sings without a beak. Yes, of course, you're right, I say. It's very dark in your house today, I say, and I could hardly hear you. I think I'm inside the bag. No, she says, you're sitting here right beside me. It's just your head inside the bag, and it's beautiful. This next poem is called Get Back. At the party, my mother curls into a set of ovaries and vein blue tubes. A shiny dark bag blooms from her mouth and turns her inside out. Everyone is laughing. I pick her up and carry her upstairs. She is slippery and making a sound like static. I find my brother lying in the hall, one eye whirling in its socket. His arms and legs are fleshy knobs, red and swollen like the walls. I drop my mother and everybody laughs. It's just so funny. She slumps over, throbs in the corner. My brother slouches toward her. I try to grab him by the stumps, but they are slick from the forewaters. I keep dropping him in the rising muck. Everyone is convulsively laughing. We can't stop. We slip, go under. It's hilarious. All of us grabbing onto each other, all of us ill-made, laughing and trying to get back inside. This next poem is probably the darkest one of the bunch. It's called Uncanny Valleys. Uncanny Valleys. When you pass a mannequin in a store window and she looks exactly like your mother when she was young, without hands. When you see sandbags about your size. When at night the closet door left open like a coffin. When you run up to the edge of a cliff, lie on your belly and look down at the tops of trees for the first time. When you see a mannequin that looks just like your father but has no sex parts. When his face through warbled glass. When your whole family goes hunting for garnets and the rock face looks like blood spatter. When you have sex for the first time, look in a mirror and are surprised you are still a girl. When something freshly torn out twitches. When dragged by your ankles down a rock face by your father. When dragged by your ankles anywhere. When no one comforts you, crying in the woods, and at the same time you are looking down at yourself, crying in the woods. When years later you are chased through the woods by a boy you love or think you love, and you cry for an angel with the face of your mother. When you finally grow up and just finish fucking someone you think you love and shit pours from their mouth. When you find yourself on stage next to a stripper barking at you on all fours like a dog. When everyone is laughing. When you bare your teeth like a dog. When the tops of trees are beautiful for a few seconds and then they are not beautiful ever again. When the cigarette hanging from your father's bottom lip looks like a skinny white girl. When you catch a reflection in dirty toilet water. When dragged down a rock face, not just a few inches, but the length of many 12-year-old girls strung together. When you dream you are being crucified on a mountain and look down on the roof of your home. When a heavy branch crashes through a tangle of branches and hits the ground with a thud, and for a split second, you think it's your mother. When dusk casts a green light on your veined hands and you wonder if you finally turned. When years later, peeling eggs in the kitchen, a bleeding goat startles the afternoon you thought you were happy inside. When you can no longer tell if you were ripped from the trees or the trees were ripped from you. When a maddening fluid takes you by the ankles. When your hip bones are peeled eggs. When a bleeding goat. When the animals of the forest swivel their eyes and ears away from the direction of the cliff. I just have a couple more, thank you. Well, see how much time we have. All right, this is called My Father's Chiaroscuro, and he was an artist, a painter. Each day I watched him paint the porcelain doll, stripped down, cocked to one side, one arm stretched out to the viewer, her glass eyes extracted years ago, a wide hole on top where hair should be. I wanted to hold her. She looked nothing like my others in yellow ruffles and curls. All those holes, all those ways in. Once I peered down inside her head, some balls of dust, a pearl button, a crushed cigarette, a few dried bees. I was still a child when I came to understand my father's long shadow at the close of day, her nakedness and her reaching. And I'm just going to read two more. I just want to thank everybody again for coming and for listening. This one's called Belief is a Default Setting. From cadavers grow new body parts. Use architecture to reanimate. Make rooms that have valves like doorways. Organs are buildings. Create a scaffold on which to plant cells, grow livers, ghost hearts, wash out infected membranes, replace damaged neural sections, hook up nerves, the spinal cord, make connections in a timely manner. A diamond knife chops the brain, slice again and again, scan with ion beams until tissue is digitalized, copy, download, access extreme life log, social media archive, create black boxes of the mind for good representation of personality, switching points, touchstones. Belief is a default setting. Activate the claustrum, the seat of consciousness, wake as if from a long sleep, bare to live with no tongue, no hands, no eyes. Dolls provide a framework, a narrative to explain your body. Feel a lack of control, see patterns in static, patterns in the stock market, in toast, in clouds, in invisible princesses. See meaning where there is none. Sense something ugly and festering in the heart of a friend when there is none. A beast in the steaming leaves, a dark thing living in an old stove deep in the woods when there is none. Thanks, guys. And this last one's called Phantasmagoria, and it's officially probably my only COVID poem, and that describes, the isolation I think a lot of us felt during the heart of it. So, Phantasmagoria. It's quieter here in the house, fewer voices, just the occasional startle of melting snow falling from the eaves like bodies. They say all bodies are composed of gossamer films. Each time you photograph one, an actual layer of skin, so thin you can't see it, is removed and transferred to the photograph. Likewise, if you stare too long at a photo with longing in your heart, a spectral layer peels itself from the image and works its way like a worm into the eye, that sentinel organ between matter and spirit, between sleeping and waking. I wonder if that's why I dream of my father, half in the past, half in the present, his artist eye wandering into a milky cloud of ectoplasm. Have I created these fibrous webs, or have they created me? I've taken too many pictures of the cows in the back field. They look weak, thin, and seem to be fading into the snowpack. They say a woman in the throes of lovemaking must not look upon an image of a beast, not even a pastoral painting hanging by the bed, lest her child be born with hooves instead of hands. Inside me, a menagerie of cows. Once, my lover, who died in a house fire, came to me in a dream. Eyelashes burned to the quick, eyes ice blue, bluer than before. We talked. It's so quiet tonight, I hear the faint clatter of cowbells. Funny thing, there are no cows in the field, haven't been for years. They say our words, our actions, even our thoughts imprint on the picture gallery of the universe, a permanent record on a great canvas to be judged by a greater being. Are those stars or holes in the canvas shielding us from a terrible light? Sometimes when I'm sleeping, a voice barks at me from outside the dream, from the room I'm dreaming inside. It's so loud, I wake with my hand on my ear, no body next to mine. All things shed themselves and recollect inside us. A cow, for example, is always emitting a transparent copy of itself, fluid-like, through the air and into the eye, where it materializes into a tiny replica. In dreams, these films collide, mingle. All my dead merge into one hybrid body. There is a deep and constant lowing from the field. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Kristin. I know it's strange to hear all the silent clapping, but I know everybody really enjoyed your poems, and I did too. I can't wait for Glass Bikini to come out next month so we can read them again and then hear more. So thank you.